I guess that's another thing. I choose to be scrutinized on the internet. I made that choice a very long time ago, and I'm super not that comfortable, but getting comfortable with it now that people know my name more.
Right.
But like for me, it's like I've been called a lot of things on the internet by choice, and I can imagine that trying to be a civic servant in an era where the internet was thrust upon you would be a different kind of challenge. Where maybe it is going to take some people that are like able to just handle the barrage of hate to really come through and
Well,
manage that.
my strategy right now is I just ignore it. Like, if someone posts something that's toxic and it's not productive or constructive, I just don't respond. And I think that's the best strategy that we can all employ. And in fact, I think that would have been the best strategy to deal with Mr. Trump, Donald Trump. Like, I never posted about Donald Trump. I think I thought Donald Trump was, it was insane. It was really like, incredible, the type of things he said and what he represented. But I think that it just fed this machine that it just was shocked and goes online. Oh, shocked what Donald Trump said. You guy's such an asshole. I'm like, best thing you could do about an asshole and someone like that is ignore him. Just ignore it. And we didn't ignore it, and it became this massive like problem.
If anything,
Yeah.
the news is in a lot of trouble right now because of that guy. They are looking for reasons to keep talking about him because, frankly, they're losing so much money on how boring Biden is.
Yeah, well, Biden, when I launched my campaign, I made a joke about how boring my campaign was going to be. Is focused on basic issues, back to basics, picking up garbage, cleaning parks, and I kind of mocked the press. Like, why would they report on something so boring? And you call Biden boring, but I think there's virtue in being boring. It's like, guys, boring.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
Running a city is boring. It's mundane.
I agree with you, but
it's like
it has to do with how the news gets paid.
Glory stuff, right?
But it has to do because the media is really powerful, right? Like, they control narratives and brainwash some people.
Yes.
And, there's a lot of psychology into literally the. So, like, I don't know if you know who Malcolm Gladwell is, but he, in his latest book, or maybe whatever one he did a couple years back, was talking about the subtle influence of a newscaster smiling while saying a political's name versus not, and how it actually impacts Republican and Democratic Google searches. So
absolutely, there's a lot of psychology. They have psychologists, trained psychologists that have spent their years studying, the human mind and how we act in our collective, in our communities, and how to like make us do and feel certain things.
So with that, it's like the news.
There was a CBC show about that. It's still on. It's called Under the Influence, and talks about advertising and how they manipulate and how they're able to get people to buy stuff. And politics, it's similar, right? They're not want us to buy a product. They want us to buy an idea. And
but the media cycle gets their money on clicks. That's it.
Yes.
So whatever gets.
I don't know.
No,
I really can't. I can't really comment.
I know for a fact how this system of business model works. This is not speculation. Okay. Web traffic equals eyes. The same way that subscriptions wasn't Sue was telling me, or I think it was her. I was telling me how the subscriptions wasn't the revenue source for the Gazette. It was that the subscriptions represented eyes, making the advertisers feel like there was value in paying the rates. So when you have eyes on your site, crazy traffic, 6-figure, 7-figure traffic, you make more money than when you're selling your advertiser slots. And when you get your viewership, you sell advertiser slots. So Donald Trump brought eyes. They got more money. The no eyes coming in, it's not about good or bad politics. It's just how the media is influenced and what they get monetized on.
And that's another question, because, it's no secret that I'm very critical of the current media structure we have right now.
I am too.
For example, I'm most critical about CBC Montreal. They have a public mandate. They're financed by public tax dollars to cover local news. And I personally think they do a very poor job of it. when they don't, to me, they don't cover the day-to-day mundane issues that confront the community. They seem to be getting themselves caught up in sensationalist stories as well, which is very typical of the private media outlets. And media right now, and in defense of the current media outlets, they're competing with social media, and they don't have the funds like they had in the past to support investigative journalism. And it's become, I call it fast food news, right? They come up, they show up, they stick a microphone in front of you, they got a camera, they ask you a bunch of questions, they go ask the other candidates a bunch of questions. They don't go online, they don't research, they don't understand the context, the historical context. They don't stand the issues really on the street as it affects people from a day-to-day point of view. And then they publish this online, or they publish this, and it's all rushed. And again, in defense of the current media, you need resources, you need people, you need time. It takes energy, and they don't have time.
But unfortunately, it's also like, so unfortunately, they're also playing against Google. Google is a huge destroyer of it. So speed matters. Let's say there's 4 news cycles there, like 4 people. Right. Whichever one publishes first actually gets a huge advantage.
Yeah, but and I guess that, saying that, if you publish first, that's fine. But just because you publish first doesn't mean you can't update, right? And I think that you're seeing that a little bit more now. Like, for example, when you look at CBC, they'll link prior stories in the same subject. But I think the Gazette does that as well, and so you can explore the subject a little bit more. But do the journalists? I don't even think the journalists have time to do that themselves, to look back at the stories that was done before. Because I'm always surprised the journalists call me up, like, for example, from the Gazette. Gazette has done reports on me and my activities within the community. Like I said, I've been involved in 20 years. And they don't even search their own archives before they call me. They don't even, who is this guy? Alex Montagano. And they don't even look their own archives. And once again, I just don't think they have the time. It's like they're flipping burgers. It's like, it's fast food news, and they don't have the time nor the resources to do proper stories anymore. And then, the local news, we had local news, you had the Chronicle, you had the NDG Free Press. We're kind of fluff papers, to be honest with you.
I got to give all love to the Free Press, though, because some dude covered me, and it was the first time I was ever like in a paper like that. So all love to the Free Press.
And then you have the Suburban, and you have some good journalists that are working for the Suburban that understand the local scene, but their capacity to report on it is restricted. Let's put it that way.
All I can say is the Suburban knows that I don't read the Suburban, because it's in my building, so we picked it up a couple of times recently because we were curious, and we're looking at the articles, and I'm like, say word. The average, because you can tell who an audience is by the content. Like, it's really like it's transparent, I guess.
Right.
You could tell that the Suburban doesn't know people under 50.
It's their soft spot, But people, like, you're a musician, right? So you have a target audience, right? So like
everyone does.
So it's always part of the game, I guess.
And I appreciate it. It's all the people that grew up with the Suburban. Like, I'm in the era where like the Suburban was there, but like we were reading the Mirror.
Yeah, remember the Mirror, the Hour. There was
the Mirror became Cult Montreal, as I understand. So they're kind of still here.
It did. Oh yeah.
Well, it's the same. It's the same guy behind the scenes, is what I understand.
Yeah, Cult Montreal has gone in a bad rap, but they did a couple of stories on us, and they covered the monolith that showed up on Sherbrooke, which was a fun exercise. They covered my exposure piece on our plastic barrels, and I went to other boroughs to see if the existence of plastic barrels was a purely uniquely CDN-NDG phenomena, and I discovered it was. And imagine that, ladies and gentlemen. We give the city $500 million each year in taxes, and our city can't afford proper garbage cans. Think about that for a second.